our next speaker is very, very unique. You know, the world is getting to a very interesting place. As I told you yesterday, we are the year of state-sponsored attacks. And it's very interesting to see that countries attack private companies. So you see North Korea and Sony, you had the case of China and Google, and there are so many other cases where we think that the person, the threat actor that was standing behind attack against a private company was a state. Now this is a very interesting relationship. Think about the Chief Information Security Officer of Sony. When he was hired and he talked about how much money he should get and the people he should manage and so on and so forth, then someone told him that he should build a security structure that will actually be able to cope with other countries. In a world where countries attack private companies, where does the responsibility of the company ends and the responsibility of the country begins? This is a very interesting relationship. And as humanity becomes more dependent on technology and we're going to have critical infrastructure in the hands of private companies, smart cars, smart cities, drones, and so on and so forth, we will see more cases where countries attack private companies. Now, our next speaker was in both places. He was in the city hall, he was in the government, and now he's in the private sector. I'm very excited to bring to the stage our next speaker, the chair of Greenberg Traurig's Cybersecurity, Privacy and Crisis Management Practice, and the former mayor of New York City, Rudolph Giuliani. Please, the stage is yours.
This is quite a beautiful auditorium. Thank you very much for having me here, and I only have a few minutes to talk to you about cybersecurity, so I'm going to try to make it as useful as possible. The whole cyber world developed in a very, very strange way, and it developed in a way in which cyber defense is far behind cyber offense. So here's what I mean. The development of our ability to gather, categorize, analyze, disseminate information is so powerful, and there's such a tremendous enthusiasm for doing that, and also such a unbelievably profitable area for companies and private individuals, that enthusiasm has often led us to develop very, very complex information systems and not think about defending them. Because defending them, first of all, is more boring. Number two, it's not profitable yet. Maybe it's becoming profitable for bad reasons, because people are being invaded and they're losing money and they're being sued and they're losing reputation. But at least at the beginning of the cyber world, which I remember way back in the 1990s, the whole emphasis was on gathering information, using information, disseminating information, turning it into services like Uber and thousands of other applications. But the whole idea of defending the information you were getting is not something that really emerged until about 2000, 2001, 2002. And by that time, so if you consider offense and defense, the offense was here and the defense was here. And it was hard back in the early 2000s to get major companies to invest the money in defense that was necessary, because it was seen as a basic loss to the bottom line, an expense, just a large expense. If you spent $5 million on a new IT program and it made you 20% more efficient, you can write that down on the bottom line, and it turns itself into profit. But if you had to spend $1 million on cyber defense, that was $1 million that went right down to the bottom line, and it became part of your loss. And it wasn't really until the tremendous number of hacks that took place in the latter part of the first decade of the 21st century that people became focused on cyber defense. And now we're catching up. And Israel is one of the leaders in helping us catch up in cyber defense, because you do a lot of the experimental work and a lot of the innovative work that's needed to accomplish something that doesn't have a 100% solution, which is very frustrating. I analogize cybersecurity, cyber defense, which is what I prefer to call it, to trying to cure cancer. We've been trying to cure cancer for a very long time. There actually are some forms of cancer that we can now cure. But in most cases, what we can do about cancer is arrest it, slow it down, and actually when we can cure it because we catch it early. So if we've developed a test that can show you cancer at an early stage, you have a much better chance of curing it than at a later stage. Same thing is true with cyber. There is no perfect defense for a cyber system. The perfect defense for a cyber system is to put no information in the cyber world. That's the perfect defense. I do security for companies, and I do security for nuclear power plants. And there's one nuclear power plant that is perfectly secure from cyber attack. Only one that I do work for. You know why? It's so old, it has no cyber. It's completely manual, and you put it on like this. And you put it off like that. And therefore, it's immune to cyber attack. The minute information is out there, somebody can get it. You tell me you've encapsulated it, and I can find you the person who will figure out how to unencapsulate it. In 2003 to 2005, 2006, I was involved in a business, and an attack and penetration business was Ernst & Young. And here's how we sold ourselves to our clients. We told them, let us hack you for 1 month, and we'll sign a NDA, and we'll give you all the information back. And if we don't get in, don't hire us. And if we do get in, hire us. We won 48 out of 50. Back in 1993, 94, 95, today we'd probably win 50 out of 50. And so the reality is the only way you can defend yourself is with a combination of disciplines. And that becomes expensive. You need to think of this in terms of each one of the disciplines is reducing the percentage of risk. The head of one of the major companies that does perimeter security, I won't mention the company because maybe he doesn't want this popularized. I don't remember if he said this publicly or privately. But the head of one of the major companies that does perimeter security, outside security, says, honestly, he has about a 48% success rate in stopping penetrations. 48%. That means 52% of the time he fails. That's pretty bad. Not his fault. There aren't too many other perimeter security companies that do much better than that. I can think of a couple that get up to about 60 or 65%. So what does that say? That says perimeter security is going to stop anywhere from half to 60 or 65% of the attempts to invade you. So now you need a backup to that. So now you have to have not just perimeter security, you have to have some form of internal security, of which there are, oh my goodness, maybe 1,000 different varieties worldwide. Extremely confusing. And what's their job? Their job is to pick up the intruder as quickly as possible. If you can pick up the intruder within a day or two, or 3, in most cases, the intruder can do very little damage. For example, Yahoo lost all of those identities, hundreds of millions, I think. I can't remember the exact number, because the intruder was in Yahoo for 2 years, maybe longer than that. The United States Office of Personnel Management was invaded. It lost 200,000 identities of people who had had FBI background checks. That's very sensitive information because it contains a lot of bad things about you that somebody said when you were seeking a government job. And that intruder was inside the Office of Personnel Management for 9 months. Had that person been in for 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, they may have gotten a few identities, a few social security numbers. They probably would have gotten no files, because to actually get to the files took a long time, because the files were protected with more protection than just the identities. As is often the case, you have gradations of protection depending on how important or how sensitive the information is. We were just talking about airplanes. Well, the airplane protects the cockpit with a heck of a lot more cybersecurity than it protects your using their Wi-Fi. And they separate the two systems so that all those people using the Wi-Fi doesn't allow someone to have access to the cockpit so that they can take the airplane down. So there are different levels and different gradations and many different ways in which you can protect inside. But the most important point I'm making is you have to find a system that is good at finding the intrusion quickly. The quicker you find it, the less damaging it is. In fact, if you find it quick enough, there's no damage at all. The longer the person is in the system, then of course it starts to become devastating. That's when you get the 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 1 million, 2 million, 20 million, 30 million identities that are taken. Then, in addition to that, if you really want to follow most of the suggestions and most of the regulations and what eventually what'll be the laws, you probably have to, on a very regular basis, attack yourself from the outside. Employ an independent company that attacks you, and even though you have security, you have internal security, those people that are attacking you are probably still going to find ways to get through. So that helps you plug up those holes that they find that these other two companies that are charging you a great deal of money still can't get you to 100%. But I'm now starting to get you somewhere closer to 80% if you do the first three things, right? Now I'm going to tell you the fourth and the one that's ignored the most. Identity protection. If you want to hack me and be successful in doing it and get a great deal of information about my law firm, Greenberg Traurig, or my security firm, hack my secretary. Don't hack me. I have all kinds of protection. You can't believe it. Because everyone I work with or everyone that comes to talk to me about it, I use it just for the heck of it to see if it works. So I have so much protection, I can't even use my own system. But do I protect my secretary as much? Or do companies, when they're doing protection, do they forget about the people in the copy room and the secretaries and the people in the billing department? Do they protect their identities so they don't get hacked and penetrated and therefore give up all the information because they have a great deal of the information about a particular company or law firm or government agency? They're the people that are most often ignored, and at least half of the intrusions that I've seen, that's the way they happen. They happen at the lower level because the upper level is very well protected. And finally, after you've done all that, you also have to have an investigatory company that can take all this information that we're talking about, the information that's gathered by the company that's giving you the external protection, and the company that's giving you the internal protection, and the company that is attacking and penetrating you, and the company that is giving you the identity protection. And that information has to go to an investigatory company. And that investigatory company, their job, first of all, is to find the person or persons or group that's attacking you, hopefully catch them and stop them, or at least start categorizing them into the types of companies, the types of countries, the types of agencies, or the types of people that like to come after you. Because once you do that, you can then start narrowing your cyber defense and put your defense in the right place rather than the wrong place. So every one of those disciplines, and you really want to get complicated, for example, a very large bank can have 130 different vendors doing what I'm describing. But they all fall within those disciplines. If you do each one of those disciplines correctly, you probably have gotten yourself close to 90% security. You're still going to get penetrated, and you're still going to get victimized if you're unlucky, because we haven't come up with a perfect solution. But we're a heck of a lot better off than we were 10 years ago when we weren't even doing this. And we're going to be a heck of a lot better off 10 years from now as we develop better and better technologies for defending ourselves without interfering with our ability to use the internet and to use cyber for all the wonderful, great, and terrific things it does, including the life-saving things that it does. So defense is a necessary part of the development of the internet and the use of the internet for life-saving purposes. Let me give you one example that, of which there could be 1,000 equally pertinent ones, but maybe that makes the point. One of the things that doctors in the healthcare industry in America would like, and would think would be terrific, is if every American had a little card. And on that card was your entire medical history. I just went for a physical 2 weeks ago. My doctor sent me all the results. He would love to put those results on a little card showing everything about me. And then I just carry that card around with me. And if God forbid I fainted right now, I had a heart attack, which I don't expect to have, and I got taken to what's the nearest hospital? I can't pronounce it, but you could get me there, right? You could get me there? Okay, good. So the doctor could take that card, put it in the computer, and right on that computer is all the medical information about me so that maybe I'm unconscious, I can't give it. What am I allergic to? What illnesses do I have or don't I have? What medicines do I take? They'll be right there. Most doctors tell you that would probably reduce the number of deaths due to accidents, heart attacks, and things like that by something like 10 to 20%. In other words, it would make them 10 to 20% more accurate in how they cared for you. Now, why don't most people have a card like that? Because they're afraid that people can steal that information if it's on the internet. And that's why defense is so critical to offense working correctly. If you felt perfectly comfortable and confident that that information couldn't be taken, you'd want a card like that. And the only reason people would hesitate having a card like that is because most people want their medical history to be personal. Maybe for good reasons, maybe for bad reasons, but whatever it is, they want it to be personal. And in the United States, that's such an important thing that we have a law called the HIPAA law that makes the disclosure of medical information a crime. And we treat it very, very seriously. So there are numerous applications like that. And that's why when people are developing better methods of cyber defense, they're making it possible for cyber offense to go further and further and further in making us safer, wealthier, happier, and better entertained. Thank you very much.